Friends, tonight is not just another gathering. Tonight is a moment of destiny. Can you feel it? The stirring in your spirit, the hunger for something more. I am here to tell you that breakthrough is not a dream. It is a PMS. When you pray in the spirit with passion, with persistence, with fervor, you tap into a power the world cannot understand. A power that shakes heavens and earth. Tonight, we will uncover the secret to prayer that kies eviar taig. Do you feel it? That whisper inside your spirit, telling you there is more. More power, more favor, more breakthrough than you have ever imagined. Tonight, I want to take you into a place where prayer is no longer a routine, no longer a checklist, but a fiery, an unstoppable, consuming fire that rises from your spirit and pierces the heavens. You see, when we pray in the spirit, we are not using our own strength. We are tapping into a force that moves mountains. A force that changes the course of destinies. A force that refuses to take no for an answer. Have you ever prayed and felt like nothing is happening? Like your words just disappear into the air, unheard, unanswered? That ends today. Because the secret is not just to speak. The secret is to pray in your spy right. When you let your spirit pray, when you let your spirit groan, when you let the spirit within intercede on your behalf, something supernatural begins to take place. You are no longer limited by your intellect, your understanding, or your circumstances. You are now connected to the heart of God, and a saspa begins to flow through you. Imagine a fire that cannot be extinguished. Every obstacle before you begins to melt. Every chain begins to snap. Every mountain begins to crumble. That is what happens when you pray in the Spirit, unceasingly, fervently, passionately, with expectancy. And I am telling you, it is not about how long you pray. It is about how deeply you allow your spirit to connect with the Spirit of God. Because breakthrough is not a casual conversation. Breakthrough is a spient that refuses to stop until victory is won. And here is the beauty. When you pray in the Spirit, the enemy trembles. Circumstances shift. Doors that have been closed for years suddenly swing open. Favor that you never knew existed rushes to your side. But here is the thing: it requires patience. It requires persistence. It requires letting your spirit lead the way. And sometimes, just when it feels like nothing is happening, just when doubt creeps in, just when your flesh cries out for relief, that is the moment the fire ignites. That is the moment your breakthrough is closer than you think. So tonight, I challenge you. Will you allow your spirit pray? Will you rise above the limits of your understanding? Will you keep going until heaven responds? Because there is a secret, a principle, a power that the world cannot comprehend, and it is waiting for you to release it. And once you grasp this, once you ignite this unstoppable fire, you will never pray the same way again. But that, my friends, is only the beginning. The deeper mystery, the next level of power, is revealed when you discover how to sustain this fire, how to walk in it every day. And that, my friends, is where the true Birekitiorogage begins. Have you ever wondered why some prayers seem to shake the very foundations of heaven, while others whisper and fade away? The answer, my friends, lies in a power hidden within you. A power that most people never discover, never tap into, never even realize exists. It is the spirit within, alive, active, waiting, ready to release miracles, ready to release breakthroughs, ready to release answers that defy every human expectation. And tonight, I want you to know that this power is not for the few. It is for you. It is already inside of you, waiting for your faith to awaken it. Many of us try to fight battles in the natural, with strategies, with plans, with our own strength. But the true victory comes when we allow the Spirit to lead. Spirit-led breakthroughs are not manufactured by human effort. They are born from alignment, from surrender, from letting your spirit intercede, beyond the limits of your mind. Can you feel that stirring in your soul right now? That longing for something greater than the ordinary? That is the Spirit nudging you, saying, it's time to step into what I've already prepared for you. When you unlock this hidden power, prayer becomes more than a conversation. It becomes a command, a declaration, a force that changes realities. Mountains that blocked your path begin to crumble. Chains that bound your destiny are broken. Doors that were locked tight swing wide open. And here is the key. This power doesn't respond to your intellect or your eloquence. It responds to your faith. It responds to your persistence. It responds to your willingness to allow the Spirit within you to pray beyond words, to groan beyond understanding, to move in alignment with heaven itself. And here's the challenge. Most people stop too soon. They pray a little, they cry a little, they groan a little, and when they don't see immediate results, they give up. But the secret of Spirit-led breakthrough is to keep Guji, to let your spirit peer in the unseen realm while your eyes see nothing. To trust that heaven is working even when the world seems silent. Can you imagine what would happen if you refused to quit? Can you imagine if your faith became so unwavering that nothing could stop it? That is the moment when the hidden power within begins to erupt. When breakthrough is no longer a possibility, it is an inevitability. And once you awaken this power, you begin to see that prayer is not about asking, it is about aligment. Not about convincing God, but about releasing the force He has already placed within you. And the deeper, greater revelation, the next level of supernatural authority, is waiting for those who refuse to stop, those who allow their spirit to lead without hesitation. And that, my friends, is where the true journey of unstoppable breakthrough begins. But what comes next, what takes this power from extraordinary to unstoppable, requires understanding a principle so simple, yet so profound. And that, my friends, is where we step into the next revelation. Have you ever stood before a mountain so huge, so immovable, that it seemed impossible to climb? Some of us face mountains in our health, in our finances, in our relationships, in our dreams. And yet, I am here to tell you tonight, mountains are never bigger than the God who dwells within you. Prayer that moves mountains is not wishful thinking, it is in action. It is not dependent on circumstances, it is dependent on FAH. Can you hear that? Faith that refuses to be shaken. Faith that refuses to be silenced. Faith that will not rest until the mountain itself is moved. The Bible says that if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move, and it will move. But listen carefully. This is not about your mind. This is about your spirit, connecting with the Spirit of God, releasing supernatural energy into the unseen. When you pray in the Spirit, when you allow your innermost being to speak beyond your words, you are unleashing a force that defies logic, defies probability, defies every limitation that surrounds you. The mountain begins to tremble, not in your imagination, but in the spiritual realm, and that trembling will eventually be reflected in the natural. And here is the truth many never realize. The impossible is actually waiting for your faith to speak. Every situation that seems too big, every problem that seems too complex, every obstacle that seems too strong, it is waiting for the prayer that refuses to quit. But there is a pattern, there is a principle, and that principle is persistence. Unstoppable, unrelenting, passionate prayer that continues until breakthrough is not a suggestion. It is a strategy, it is a weapon, it is the way the Spirit of God moves the world on your behalf. Sometimes, the mountain doesn't move immediately. Sometimes the breakthrough seems delayed. And that, my friends, is where your faith is tested. Will you speak to the mountain, or will you whisper and give up? Will you pray once, twice, or will you pire varets? I tell you, the moment you refuse to stop, the moment your spirit refuses to rest, the moment your eyes stay fixed on God rather than the obstacle, that is when the impossible becomes inevitable. And as your faith grows, as your spirit grows, as your persistence becomes unstoppable, something miraculous happens. You begin to see patterns of breakthrough that go beyond this one mountain. Doors open that you never even knew existed. Favor comes from directions you never expected. Provision flows in ways that your mind could never calculate. And you realize the truth: the mountain was never the enemy. The mountain was a stage for the Spirit to display His power through your prayer. But this, my friends, is only the beginning. Because once you move one mountain, the question becomes, how do you sustain that power? How do you continue to experience the impossible? How do you build a life where supernatural breakthroughs become the normal? And that, my friends, is exactly what the next revelation will unlock. Have you ever prayed, poured out your heart, groaned in the Spirit, and felt nothing? Silence. No answer, no breakthrough, no sign that heaven even heard you. And yet, it is in that silence, in that stillness, that the secret of persistent spirit prayer begins to reveal itself. Victory is not always immediate. Sometimes it is hidden behind the quiet, waiting for those who refuse to give up. Those who continue to pray even when it seems nothing is happening. Do you want to know why some prayers fail while others shake the heavens? It is not the words you say, it is the persistence of the Spirit behind those words. When you pray in the Spirit, your spirit does more than speak. It intercedes, it groans, it moves beyond your understanding, beyond your logic, beyond the limits of what your mind can see. That persistence, that unrelenting push of the Spirit, is the key that unlocks the door to breakthrough. Heaven is stirred not by hurried words, not by occasional prayers, but by a determined, relentless, Spirit-led pursuit of God. Can you imagine a river carving a canyon through rock? Not because the rock wanted to move, but because the water refused to stop. That is your prayer, persistent, unstoppable, and destined to produce results. And here is a truth most people overlook. The silence is not a denial. The silence is not a punishment. The silence is a testing ground for your faith, a training ground for your spirit, a stage where persistence grows into power. Many give up at the first sign of delay. Many stop when the answer seems distant. But the one who continues, the one who keeps praying, keeps groaning, keeps believing, that person sees what others never see. That person experiences the breakthrough that changes everything. Can you feel it, friends? That stirring inside, that pull that says, do not stop, do not quit, keep praying. That is the Spirit within you telling you that victory is closer than you think. And as you continue, as you refuse to be shaken, you begin to notice something miraculous. What was once silent begins to move. What seemed impossible begins to shift. What was delayed begins to arrive. The mountain of opposition does not disappear overnight, but your persistence moves the mountain inch by inch until the day comes when it cannot stand against the power of your Spirit-led prayer. But persistence is only one part of the secret. There is a deeper dimension, a higher level of prayer, a place where your spirit not only prays, but connects directly with the heart of God. That connection releases supernatural insight, supernatural favor, supernatural authority. And it is in that place that the ordinary becomes extraordinary, the natural becomes supernatural, and the silent moments of prayer explode into victory beyond your imagination. And as you discover this secret, you begin to realize that persistent spirit prayer is not just a practice. It is a lifestyle, a way of living in alignment with heaven, a path to constant, unstoppable breakthrough. Yet, there is still another revelation waiting, one that will take this power, this persistence, and multiply it into results so extraordinary. You will never see prayer the same way again. Have you ever felt your prayers were ordinary routine, lacking fire? That is because many walk in prayer as if it is just words, as if it is just tradition. But I am here to tell you, prayer is meant to ignite a fire within your spirit, a fire that cannot be contained, a fire that moves the unseen, a fire that releases the supernatural into your everyday life. Do you want to experience the power that breaks limits? Do you want to step into a prayer life that changes circumstances, transforms destinies, and releases miracles? Then it is time to ignite your prayer life. Igniting your prayer life is not about doing more, it is about connecting deeper. It is about allowing your spirit to lead, to groan, to pray in the spirit with passion that refuses to be silenced. When your spirit prays, the atmosphere changes. The heavens respond. Mountains tremble. Chains break. Doors swing open. But here is the key. The power does not come from the length of your prayer. It does not come from eloquence. It does not come from human effort. It comes from the alignment of your spirit with the Spirit of God, from letting the supernatural flow through you, from stepping out of the natural and walking in the realm of the Spirit. Have you ever wondered why some believers see breakthrough after breakthrough while others remain stuck? It is because they have learned to walk in the supernatural, to pray with fire, to trust that what seems impossible in the natural is already done in the Spirit. And the moment you take that step, when you stop relying on your understanding and start walking in the supernatural, you begin to see miracles unfold, doors open, and situations transform. Suddenly, prayer is no longer a request. It becomes a declaration, a command, a movement of power that heaven cannot ignore. And yet many hesitate. Many fear the unknown. They pray, but cautiously, timidly, with half-hearted faith. But God is not moved by caution. He is moved by boldness, by courage, by a spirit that refuses to settle for less. When you ignite your prayer life, you are choosing to step into boldness, to release the fire of the Spirit, to move with authority and expect the miraculous. Can you feel that fire inside you, waiting to be released? Waiting to shake your world, waiting to create breakthrough where none seemed possible. That is the power of Spirit-led prayer, the power that turns ordinary lives into testimonies of extraordinary miracles. And as you walk in this supernatural power, you will notice something remarkable. The impossible becomes possible. The delayed arrives, the lost is restored. Your life begins to operate in a dimension beyond the natural, and your prayers begin to carry weight that the enemy cannot resist. But here is the next revelation, the next level of this supernatural walk, the principle that multiplies your fire and sustains it beyond what you could imagine. And that, my friends, is where we step into the final secret of unstoppable breakthrough. Have you ever felt on the edge of breakthrough, yet something seemed to hold you back? That hesitation, that delay, that invisible resistance, it is not coincidence. It is the testing ground where your faith is refined, where your spirit is prepared, where the principle of breakthrough is revealed. You see, true breakthrough is not accidental. It is not random. It is the result of Spirit-led prayer, persistent, unwavering, and fueled by the fire that refuses to quit. And tonight, I want you to understand this principle, the principle that changes everything. Spirit-led prayer is not about telling God what to do. It is about aligning your heart, your mind, your spirit with His. It is about allowing the Spirit within you to pray beyond your understanding, to groan beyond your words, to release power that the natural cannot contain. And when you engage in this kind of prayer, when you allow your spirit to lead, something extraordinary happens. Walls begin to crumble, chains begin to break, mountains begin to move, and doors that were locked shut for years swing wide open. Do you see it? This is the principle. This is the secret. It is not in the quantity of prayer, but in the quality of the connection with the Spirit of God. Many stop before the breakthrough. Many give up at the first sign of delay. But those who persist, who continue to pray in the Spirit, who refuse to let circumstances dictate their faith, they see what others never see. They experience what others never experience. They touch the impossible. And this principle is simple, yet profound. Breakthrough comes to the obedient. Breakthrough comes to the persistent. Breakthrough comes to those who pray in the Spirit until victory manifests. Can you imagine living a life where every area of need, every struggle, every obstacle is met with this kind of prayer, where your spirit, alive with God's power, intercedes on your behalf in ways the natural cannot comprehend? That is not a dream. That is the reality of Spirit-led prayer. That is the life of those who refuse to settle for less than God's best. And as you begin to walk in this principle, you discover a supernatural rhythm, a life where prayer and breakthrough are inseparable, where your faith moves faster than your problems, where your destiny cannot be delayed by circumstances. And now, friends, it is time to rise. It is time to ignite your spirit, to embrace this principle, to release the power that has been waiting inside you. Because breakthrough is not optional. It is your inheritance. It is your right. And the moment you fully grasp this principle, the moment you refuse to stop praying in the Spirit, the moment your faith refuses to waver, your life will never be the same again. Stand firm, pray without ceasing. Walk boldly in Spirit-led power, and watch as the impossible becomes your reality. Keep your eyes on God, your hands lifted high, your spirit ignited, your faith unwavering. This is the hour. This is the moment. And the breakthrough that has been promised is finally yours.